In this module, we are going to discuss gender violence or gendered violence or gender-based violence. But before we discuss that, we have to understand a few terms. So, what's the difference between gender and sex? So, sex is biological, gender is social. Biological things are given, it's difficult to change them. Culturally learned things are not given, they are learned, and it's also difficult to change them, but much easier. So if you look at this picture, so sex refers to biological and physiological differences between men and women, while gender refers to social and cultural differences between men and women. Sex has two main categories, man and female. Gender has two main categories, masculine and feminine. Sex remains the same regardless of time and culture. Gender roles and expectations differ by time and culture. Sex is created for reproduction needs, that is, biological features. Gender distinctions are created by social norms. So these are the differences between gender and sex. Gender violence is the harm that is linked to one's gender roles in the society. So it can happen to individual or groups, and it's usually physical, but it can be psychological. Domestic violence is a violence in domestic settings. So again, the most common form is husbands and sometimes fathers and brothers who do harm to women under control. But domestic violence is not limited to women as victims. Sometimes children of both sexes are also victims of the domestic violence. So gender violence and domestic violence, although mostly done by men against women, but it's not limited by that. Sometimes men are also subject to both gender violence and domestic violence. And gender violence is quite common. It's common even in advanced countries. So if you look at these 2014 figures in European Union, if you look at women aged more than 15 or 15 plus, 1 in 3 women have experienced physical or sexual violence, 1 in 20 have been raped, 1 in 2 have experienced sexual harassment, and 1 in 5 have experienced stalking. And 95% of the trafficked persons in Europe or EU are women. So this is the case even in advanced countries, what to say of countries like ours in Pakistan, India, and other countries. And if you look at how regions in South Asian region or India and Pakistan are linked or in comparison to the advanced countries in terms of gender violence, Thomson Reuters Foundation has done a research study, and they do it annually, and they ask 200 plus experts of how and in comparison what countries are more to experience more gendered violence. So the question they ask is, which is the most dangerous country in the world for women in terms of, and there are 6 categories, which is health, lack of access to economic resources, discrimination, gender, tribal, religious traditions and customary practices that discriminate against women, sexual violence against women, non-sexual violence against women, which includes domestic, physical and mental abuse, and human trafficking. So in these 6 categories, experts are asked to rank different countries. And based on those rankings, then the foundation, the Thomson Reuters Foundation, designates each year countries that are most dangerous to women. So the 5 most dangerous countries to women, according to this ranking, were: number 1 was Afghanistan, 2nd was Congo in Africa, 3rd was Pakistan, 4th was India, and 5th was Somalia. So these are the 5 countries, and if you look at it, 3 of them are in South Asia. So this tells us that South Asia is one of the regions, and Pakistan is one of the countries where gender violence is prevalent. The highest ranked countries in each risk sectors are health, in terms of health and economic discrimination and non-sexual violence. Afghanistan is on top. In terms of sexual violence, Congo is on top. In terms of trafficking, India is on top. And in terms of cultural, tribal, and religious restrictions or discriminations, Pakistan is on top. So this is the situation of Pakistan and South Asia in comparison to the world in terms of gender violence. Although gender violence is prevalent all over the world, this region or this particular area is more apt to gender violence. Thank you.